Welcome everyone to our video series about biblically informed investing. I'm Gerard Feliciano, and joining with me in this conversation is the CIO or Chief Investment Officer of Capstone Asset Management, Mr. Paul Carter. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Gerard.
So, Paul, how would you describe Capstone's investment philosophy?
So at its heart, Capstone's investment philosophy is about stewardship. We're focused on long-term value, solid fundamentals, and investing in companies that align with our Christian values.
So it's not just about numbers.
Exactly. Financial performance is obviously important, but how a company earns money for shareholders is just as important to us. We deliberately avoid businesses that conflict with our values, even if it means missing out on a good rate of return opportunity on occasion.
So how does Capstone's investment philosophy shape our BII funds?
So the BII funds are an extension of how we've managed equity portfolios for our clients for years. Now we're giving investors broader access to that same approach.
That's good. And they're launching soon, right?
Yes, we're launching two funds actually. The Capstone Biblically Informed Canadian Equity Fund and the Capstone Biblically Informed U.S. Equity Fund. Both are diversified portfolios built for durability and downside protection and with long-term growth in mind.
So same philosophy, but applied to different markets.
Exactly. Somewhat different portfolios just because of the different structures of the US and Canadian stock markets, but the same disciplined, values-driven process behind both.
Talking about our upcoming BII funds launch, you've managed this model strategy for over 2.5 years, correct?
That's right, Gerard. Shortly after I joined Capstone in 2022, we developed our BII investment approach specifically for the Canadian equity market. We had a number of clients who wanted discretionary management of their Canadian equities portfolio, and we felt that we could offer a compelling solution by applying our investment philosophy specifically to this asset class.
Can I ask what the results have looked like?
Yeah, overall, since 2022, we've been very pleased with the results. We've handily beaten the benchmarks and have been able to create industry-leading risk-adjusted returns for our clients. And we're fortunate to have been able to grow our client base fairly steadily since launch, as the demand for a quality, faith-based approach to the Canadian equities market has been growing.
What lessons have you learned through this experience?
Yeah, quite a few actually. But probably I'd say the biggest one is that applying a rigorous faith-based approach to company research and stock selection does not mean you have to sacrifice returns. In fact, looking at companies through a faith-based lens has yielded insights into specific company investments that perhaps we wouldn't have achieved had we only been looking for stocks that could make us the most money. And ultimately, we believe this will lead to even better outcomes over the long run.
Paul, what kind of screening or selection process do you use to ensure the portfolio isn't invested in companies that are not aligned with the biblical informed investing values?
It's really an iterative and ongoing process, Gerard. First of all, there are just some companies that we're not going to spend time researching. For instance, those that derive profits from things like gambling, recreational cannabis, or abortion products. We use multiple third-party faith-based investing tools to help us with this, but then we also do the work ourselves by digging into the business models of the various companies within our investment universe. Once we've screened out those companies that don't align with our values, we then spend considerable time digging into the fundamentals of a company under consideration. It is during this process that we sometimes discover other aspects of a company's business, both positive and negative, that have not been picked up by these third-party research tools. So we're finding that we are relying more and more on our own research.
And then what about those that are positively aligned with BII values?
It's the same approach. Through our detailed research process, we get to know in greater detail how a company makes its money, aspects of a company's business culture and practices, leadership, etc. Ultimately, is a judgment call on our part. But our goal is to invest with those companies that we can be proud of as Christians to support. Our primary goal, of course, is to make investments that ultimately yield strong risk-adjusted returns for our clients over the long run. However, we believe that companies that are highly aligned with biblical values tend to create more value for shareholders over time, so it isn't really an either-or choice.